The flickering lantern light danced across Eleanor Hayes' weathered face as she dabbed a warm rag against the stranger's bloodied arm. His eyes, sharp and hazel like a predator's, locked onto hers without flinching. Outside her modest cabin on the outskirts of Silver Creek, Montana, a brutal November blizzard raged in 1882, but inside, the tension was thicker than the drifting snow. "You ought to hand me over, ma'am," Harlan Black rasped, his voice gritty as mountain gravel. "There's a $3,000 reward for my head dead or alive." Eleanor's pulse quickened. She knew this man was trouble, the outlaw who'd hit the Wells Fargo Bank in Helena just last month, leaving 2 guards dead in the dust. Yet her hands shook not from terror, but from a spark she hadn't felt since her husband's passing 9 years ago. The rag slipped from her fingers. In the distance, hooves thundered faintly. Sheriff Luke Dawson's men, still on the hunt. What happens when a proper widow tangles with the West's most wanted killer? And when justice closes in, will she pick her spotless name or the fire in her veins? Buckle up, this tale's got twists that'll grip you tighter than noose. Eleanor Hayes had laid her husband, Samuel, to rest 9 years back, burying any whisper of passion along with him. At 57, she'd settled into the role Silver Creek expected, a pillar of decency, her silver streak hair always neatly coiled, her dresses prim and high-necked, her gaze demure at church gatherings. Folks saw her as the epitome of grace under grief. They didn't know her wilder days before Samuel tamed her into respectability. That stormy November evening, as winds whipped the Montana plains, Eleanor mended linens by the hearth. A pounding at the door shattered the quietno sane soul brave this weather. She cracked it open to find him, towering like a lodgepole pine, dark hair matted with snow and sweat, blood staining his sleeve. His stare pierced her, stirring something deep and forgotten. "Help me, please," he growled. She should have bolted the door, yelled for the ranch hands nearby. Instead, she waved him in. Harlan Black staggered into her kitchen, trailing red spots on the plank floor. She'd caught wind of his name and hushed saloon talk. The Helena heist had been a bloodbath, shots echoing as innocents fell. "Sit," she ordered, her tone firmer than her racing heart. As she boiled water and fetched bandages, she snuck peeks at him. Even hurt, he exuded raw power, his broad frame testing the seams of his shirt. When she peeled back his coat, her fingertips grazed his skin, sending a jolt through her core. "You recognize me," he stated flatly. "Yeah, and you're patching me up anyway." Eleanor met his intense gaze. "Reckon I am." She'd forgotten the thrill of being seen as a woman, not a relic. Eleanor's hands paused on his wound. "What's your tale, Mrs. Hayes?" "Eleanor Hayes," she replied, ignoring the heat from his nearness. "And I ain't got one." "Everyone's got one," he pressed, his voice softening like dusk. "A fine woman like you. Out here, Alan Ethra's history. Fine woman, not poor widow." It hit different. "I wasn't always a miner's wife," she confessed. Harlan's eyes sparked with curiosity, but before he could dig deeper, hoarse whinnies cut the air. Through the iced pane, lanterns Bob Dawson's posse, relentless after 2 weeks on his trail. Eleanor's chest tightened. Harboring him would shatter her standing. But seeing him wince as he rose, she whispered, the storm cellar behind the larder. "Hide." Harlan's rough palm cupped her wrist, his thumb tracing her vein. "Why risk it?" She stared into those hazel depths, feeling a feral hunger awaken. Damned if I know, but she did the pull of life over loneliness. The riders galloped by, Dawson's bark carrying, "He's hit bad, won't last far." Once silence returned, Eleanor hauled Harlan upstairs. His torn shirt revealed a torso etched with scars from battles and brawls, still taut and vital. "You could have cashed in," he said. "I don't chase bounties." "What do you chase, then?" The words hung heavy. Eleanor, flushed, she craved vitality, desire, not the pitying glances of townsfolk. "Rest up," she muttered. storms worsening. That night, she lent him Samuel's old duds in his bed. She tossed in the spare room, picturing his calloused hands on her, stirring forbidden heat. By dawn, drifts piled high, roads buried. Harlan couldn't bolt, and Eleanor silently hoped he wouldn't. She carried breakfast up. He stood bare-chested at the window, scouting. His back was a canvas of old Hertz bullet pocks, blade marks. "Like what you see?" he teased, not turning. She blushed, but held steady. "Maybe." He faced her, his look scorching. This was peril beyond, outlaws crossing into passion she couldn't erase. "Blizzard's holding," he noted, voice husky. Eleanor set the tray down shakily. "Sure is." For weeks, the January gales locked them in Eleanor's cabin, for weeks of lingering eyes and brushing touches, for weeks of Eleanor reclaiming her womanhood from the grave of propriety. Harlan pitched in, splitting logs with precise swings that had her spying from the window, his muscles rippling. When he spotted her, his smirk was wicked. "Admiring the work, Mrs. Hayes?" She spun away, a low-ache building. Would needs doing, but they knew better. Evenings tortured them. Harlan fixing tack by the fire, Eleanor stitching quilts. Silence pulsed with want. Fingers grazed passing coffee, igniting sparks. One night, he prodded, "Tell me about before you were proper." Her needle halted. No one in Silver Creek knew her secrets. "What makes you think there was a before?" "Your sway, your stare," he drawled like honey. "You weren't born a saintly widow." "I sang," she breathed, "in Virginia City saloons before Samuel." His eyes gleamed. "What kind of singing?" She faced him defiantly. "The kind that emptied pockets and filled glasses." Harlan set his mug aside. "I'd have emptied mine for a show." "Well, had a man last flirted like that?" "Long ago." "Not that long." He rose, closing in. "Sing for me now. Show me the real you." Eleanor stood on wobbly legs. No melody but the howling wind, yet she hummed low, her hands gliding over her curves, her hips swaying in remembered rhythm. Harlan watched, rapt. As she neared, his arms snaked around her waist. "Stunning," he murmured. "Damn stunning." Inches apart, she smelled leather, smoke, and man. She should have retreated, clung to her facade. Instead, she bridged the gap. Harlan's kiss was fierce, claiming. She clutched his shirt, melting kiss like prey, not a fragile keepsake. Gasping apart, he groaned, "Eleanor, I should ride out before it's too late." Her fingers mapped his scars. "Stay." That night, she guided him to her bed, not Samuel's. Harlan's touch was tender yet urgent, untying her dress, letting it fall. In the glow, she felt wanted alive. He explored her with lips and hands, banishing 9 years of void. As he hovered above, "Look at me," he urged. She did, lost in his fire. This was Rob Bond, not mere flesh honest, scary. After, tangled, he traced her skin. "What now?" "Don't know," she whispered. But no regrets. None for her, but paradise was fleeting. On a crisp February morn, Eleanor pegged wash when Mrs. Whitaker rode up, eyes hawkish. "Morning, Eleanor. Heard noises from your spread lately." Eleanor's gut twisted. "Just muttering to myself lonely out here." "Umph, that's quite the wood stack." Samuel could barely dent it. Inside, Harlan likely gripped his revolver. Hired a drifter for cash work. Mrs. Whitaker eyed the lineman's breeches too large for any hand. Curious. As she left, Eleanor knew the net tightened. Law loomed. Choice brewed between heart and safety. That eve, Harlan held her tight. "Whatever comes," he breathed in her hair, "you revived me deeper than you know." But dawn brought dread. Had she saved or cursed them? Bounty hunter Vance Ryder burst in on a Tuesday dawn. Eleanor lay in Harlan's embrace when the door splintered. Ryder loomed. Peacemaker aimed at Harlan's bare back. "Well, looky here, the notorious Harlan Black, caught bare as a babe." Harlan shielded her, groping for his holster. But Ryder booted it away. "Easy, stud. Hands up." Eleanor's cheeks burned with humiliation. This was ruin her life exposed. She's innocent. Harlan snarled, exposed but unbowed. Ryder's chuckle grated. Innocent? Hiding a fugitive for weeks? That's aiding 10 years in the pen easy. Eleanor's world is iced. 10 years? She'd be pushing 70 on release if she made it. Please, she begged. I'll match the bounty, double it. $3,000 from the bank, $6,000 from me. Ryder mulled, tobacco juice dripping. Tempting, but my rep's gold. Can't let word spread Vance Ryder's bought by some outlaw's floozy. Harlan lunged, but Ryder swung the barrel to her temple. Move, and her brains decorate the quilt. For once, Harlan pale not fearing death, but her loss. What'll it take? Simple. Come peacefully, I omit the widow's hospitality. Fight, and every paper from here to Denver blasts how prim Eleanor Hayes warmed her winter. Impossible bind. Harlan's mind raced odds, escapes. None. Minute to dress, he conceded. As he clothed, his eyes bored into hers. Sorrow, remorse, love, unspoken. Eleanor, he whispered. What we shared, I know, she said, tears flowing but voice steel. Dressed, hands high, Ryder prodded him out. At the door, Harlan whirled, slamming Ryder's gut. The hunter reeled. Harlan dove for his gun. Boom, the shot echoed. Harlan crumpled, blood blooming on his chest. Not lethal, but he knelt. Ryder loomed, smoking iron ready. Eleanor shrieked, rushing to staunch the flow. Don't you quit on me. Harlan's bloody hand squeezed hers. Had two for you. Ryder cuffed him, touching. March. As they hauled him, Harlan yelled, Remember you saved me. 3 days later, Sheriff Dawson knocked. Eleanor had scoured blood, torched sheets, erasing their traces. Questions about Black, ma'am. She straightened. Sheltered a hurt stranger in the storm, Sheriff. That's all. Dawson eyed her shrewdly, but bought the yarn Ryder kept mum. Trial in Butte next month. Likely 25 years. 25? Harlan be near 60 out, if alive. Testify, if needed. Dawson tipped his hat. Christian act, Mrs. Hayes. You're solid. Alone, Eleanor sobbed by the cold grate. Solid? If they knew. That night, she penned a first unsent letter, spilling her soul vows to wait eternally. She signed, Forever yours, Eleanor. The Butte trial drew mobs. Eleanor perched rear, veiled in black, hiding sobs. Harlan stood chained, unbent. Testifying, she lied. He posed as a lost traveler. Charity, nothing else. She avoided his gaze, the betrayal stabbing. Defense pleaded hardship drove him, but Helena's death sealed Ida Teller with kin left widowed. Sentence, 25 years, Montana Territorial Prison. Harlan's eyes found hers resignation, but he mouthed, Thank you. The decades dragged like chains. Silver Creek evolved mines boomed. Rails arrived, taming the wild. Eleanor grayed to white, softened with age, but her flame endured. Monthly, she shopped in Helena, detouring to Deer Lodge via lawyer Elias Grant. She funded Harlan's comforts, books, woolens, and docks. Grant saw her as charitable, clueless about love. News trickled. Harlan crafted in the shop, read voraciously, fought once solitary. Each crumb was a treasure. Suitors cammy a banker, a preacher, even the smithy. She declined, citing Samuel's ghost. Truth, her heart was jailed 300 miles away. The town forgot the scandal as Eleanor volunteered schooling kids, nursing the ill, and running bazaars. Whispers faded. She was the virtuous widow anew. Nights, she dreamed of his touch. Letters piled in a chest. Daily tales, fears, joys. My Harlan, on his 45th. Do you recall us? Or did Barr steal it? I remember all your caress, your growl. How you woke me from numbness. But they stayed hidden. At 72, Eleanor resolved to take bolder action. Harlan Black stepped free from Montana prison on an autumn day in 190,520 years, not 25, thanks to conduct and her shadow funds. At 58, silver-haired, etched deep, but eyes sparked. Prison honed him, literate, skilled in woodwork, hands that killed now built. Above all, hopeful. Eleanor's gifts hinted books with sage bookmarks, her flower, lavender-scented gear. A bribe guard whispered of a true lady who knows love's worth. He knew. Silver Creek had civilized. Streets paved, electrics buzzing, saloons, cafes. Her cabin? A family's now, pa, ma. Tots romping where he'd axed wood. The wife eyed his ruggedness warily. Pardon, my prior owner, Eleanor Hayes? Sympathy softened her. Dear Mrs. Hayes passed 3 years back pneumonia. Buried yonder, past the chapel. At her grave, sunset bathed the plains in gold, echoing their first night. Stone red. Eleanor Hayes, 1825 to 1902, cherished for her kind spirit. Beneath, a faded envelope for Harlan. Inside, my love, I held on as long as fate allowed. Thanks for showing this old soul passion anew, till we reunite beyond bars. Forever yours, Eleanor. Harlan knelt, tears streaking like rivers. Some bonds defy even the grave love's promise eternal. What do you think can true love conquer time, scandal, and death? Drop your take in the comments. Was Eleanor right to risk everything, or foolish? Share your stance loud and proud.